So I want to talk about the Manchurian Candidate. There's other names, zombie assassin, hypno-programmed assassin. You know, the Congress recently did these hearings about MKUltra, this new investigation by the House. So I want to talk today just a little bit about what this means on a personal level in terms of films and some observations. The concept of a hypno-programmed assassin or Manchurian Candidate, as it's called, really goes back to the programs of MKUltra and the CIA, where they were doing mind control. And they wanted to be able to have an army of assassins that could go out and kill people, but not have it traced back to the agency. And they were working with drugs like LSD, and they were doing full-on mind control. In the Captain America movie, part of the Avengers saga, the Winter Soldier. I think the name might also be Civil War. I guess some of the names mixed up. I don't know if the exact movie I'm referring to is called Civil War or the Winter Soldier, but let me explain the concept of the Winter Soldier. But you know, sometimes when I'm talking about these assassinations in the United States, and last year we had a major assassination of a political figure, but it's not known so much outside the United States. Of course, I'm referring to the youth activist Charlie Kirk. But when I'm talking with people here in Ecuador, a lot of them say, "Well, you're researching this stuff and you're so into this. Don't you aren't you afraid that they may come and get you? Like they may want to come and they might want to get you." And I don't think they realize just how mainstream the concept of the zombie assassin is. So let's look at this movie, The Avengers, part of the Captain America saga, The Winter Soldier. He was literally kept on ice where in Siberia, frozen in a cage with a lot of these other ones. And it's a comic book, larger than life, exaggerated depiction, but it's pointing to this reality that we've talked about so much historically. So the concept was that you say certain words, and this triggers the assassin, and then he wakes up. Then when they want to put him to sleep again, they use trauma and they zombify him again. So he wakes up with these words that trigger him, and then he goes out and he carries out missions, and he doesn't remember it afterwards. That's the Winter Soldier in the movie Civil War. But you're seeing that it's based on the historical concept that they were working on with MKUltra. And they were working on how erasing the memories of schoolgirls, yeah, at the universities in the United States and in Canada. They actually had rooms where they would chain children up to hospital beds and give them amphetamines to make them stay awake, and then barbiturates to make them sleep. And then they wake them up with electroshocks. They wanted to see if they could make them a blank slate, because they thought that through using trauma, you could erase the psyche, erase the mind, and they would have a blank slate, and then they could program them. This is the same thing they've been doing with the economies of the world. In the movie Civil War, the character that's played by Robert Downey Jr., you know, the philanthropist that's in charge of all these super soldiers, they all have a different skill. Like there's the guy with the shield, there's another guy with a bow and arrow, there's another guy with wings. They all have something that gives them special powers. And in the case of the Winter Soldier, this ability to be programmed to go out and kill political figures and high-profile targets. So the leader of the Avengers, at one point in the movie, he says, "Hey, Manchurian Candidate, come here." In the Spanish version of this movie, they translated it literally as zombie assassin, asesino zombie, ven acá. A lot of people that aren't aware of this history of the CIA and mind control might freak out when they hear the word zombie, because the only thing that they know about zombies is like from the show The Walking Dead, where um, these flesh-eating creatures, the dead people go back to life, who would be considered a delusion. But specific literary reference of Manchurian Candidate in Spanish, that doesn't work, saying Candidato de Manchuria, because they don't have that specific movie with Frank Sinatra. I think it was. There was a later version with Meryl Streep and Daniel Washington. So because they don't have that specific cultural reference, the book, the movie, it doesn't make any sense translating in that. So in that movie, where Robert Downey Jr. was calling the hypno-programmed assassin, in the Spanish version, they referred to it, they said, "Ven acá, asesino zombie," zombie killer or zombie assassin. That's interesting. In the speech, the debate rather between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, before Biden did so poorly and they kicked him out and brought Kamala Harris instead. At one point in the debate, Donald Trump referred to Joe Biden as a Manchurian Candidate. And because I had had the experience of seeing how Manchurian Candidate was translated to zombie assassin in the Spanish, I went back and I watched the debate, the translated version, and just thinking maybe they might say zombie assassin, but no, they said Manchuria, Candidato de Manchuria. But I would have defended the use of the expression zombie assassin, or the equivalent in Spanish, because that for me is a more clear translation. So yeah, this is in the news, and we're going to continue to cover it because I think it's really important when we talk about not only the 20th century and the high-profile assassinations. So annoying that I wrote it. High-profile assassinations in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where there's either patsies or spooks or dupes involved, but also the high-profile events and assassinations of the 21st century. Charlie Kirk, very suspicious indeed. So we're going to keep covering this concept, and let me know what you think in the comment section. Remember, I don't know you're a listener until I hear from you. Please leave a comment letting me know how you stay in touch with the show on Facebook, BitChute, or Rumble, or YouTube.